Hello, and thanks for joining us here again on NCI Live. I am your host, David Groth. I'm a technical solutions specialist here at Network Center. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that is on everyone's lips, which is ChatGPT. Joining me today is Roger Lund, a solutions architect also here at Network Center, and he will be our expert on ChatGPT. Welcome, Roger. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me. Good, good. It's rainy, but it's better than snow.
Yeah, that's actually very true. So I wanted to remind everyone that is watching with us that we are live on both YouTube and LinkedIn. So please feel free to chat us your questions, and Roger and I will do whatever we can to answer those questions. And if you have some other, anecdote you'd like to throw out, please feel free to participate. It is a live show. So, and with that, Roger, I'm gonna throw it over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do at Network Center?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm a solutions architect here at Network Center. I've got a background in virtualization, data center, everything from server storage, networking, those types of things. What does that mean, right? That means that I kind of design solutions. It's going to be talking to you, talking to clients, coming up with the best technology to meet the needs of the business, right? Part of my background is a lot of social media interaction, blogging, and things like that. So I like to, try to stay at least current as I can with some of the things that's going on, like AI. And so
Hmm.
you know this conversation that we're gonna have today, I think, is kind of top of mind for me.
Sure.
And so
And so what we're talking about here is, Chat GPT is what, well, first of all, what is the GPT in Chat GPT? What does that stand for? Like,
that's a good question. So, it is so what is ChatGPT, right? I mean, it is a architecture, right? And that's what that
hmm
really stands for.
yeah,
It's the architecture itself, but it is a language model, right?
yeah,
Designed to interact with humans in a human manner, right? Um, Not necessarily, we think of like it being like some sort of robot or something,
yeah, yeah,
not necessarily what it is, right? But I think of it like a virtual assistant.
yeah.
And then the model is just like the architecture of it,
Right.
the chat bot, so to speak.
And
So
it's not, and as my understanding is, it's not truly an AI, but it uses kind of AI based technologies. And the key word there is language model. It
yep,
studies the all the different algorithms and stuff that was used to program it, studies human language and a bunch of data to come up with natural language responses so that people think it's an artificial intelligence. My take on
right,
it has
right.
always been for an artificial intelligence to be that it has to pass what most people call the Turing test. And for those of you who don't know, that's where if you were to talk with it, you couldn't tell if it's a human or a person on the other end of the phone or chat or whatever. And that's oversimplification, but that's
Right. And that's not what this is, right? This is, I
no,
mean, think of it like taking Google and Siri and some of the things that normally interact with separately and kind of, making it more autonomous.
okay. So why is this such a big deal? I mean, we've had bots and I mean, heck, we've had Clippy. I mean, right? I like to pick on Clippy, but we've had Clippy, and that was one of the first assistants.
Yeah.
ChatGPT is not that, right? That was a building block, but we've come so far and away from that. Why is ChatGPT now this big thing? What's so important about it?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it is the amount of information it has access to, right?
Mhm.
You can have a pretty sophisticated program, so to speak, right? That can do crazy things, but if it doesn't have data, right,
Right.
it's not going to know how to answer your question because it's
Right.
not going to have enough information, right? And
hmm
so, as we evolve technologically, right, we collect data and allow these data sets to be accessed better over time, right?
Mhm. Right.
And so I think that's a big part of it. Um, and then you think about like the difference between the evolution of search engines over the years, right? And the
Mhm.
same thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the search engine itself. It's just you're typing in text criteria, right? But it's against what it runs against in the back end and to
Mhm.
get your results. So
Sure. Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Can we, do you wanna take us through what ChatGPT looks like and what people use it for, and maybe some of the couple of quick little things?
yeah, you bet. I can go ahead and share my screen here. So let me know if you guys can see this.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Definitely.
So first off, if there's a free version of Chat GPT and then there's a plus version. And this is the plus version, and if you look here, there's some differences in you know um, the results based on some of the architecture, right? So the default free version is this one. The paid plus version gives you a little more advanced functionality for being more precise. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
We're gonna do the
Mm.
default. So first off, what do you use it for? you know,
Yeah.
in IT, right? Um, you're gonna maybe want to use it to solve problems. And
Sure.
some of the things that you might run into is going to be, how do I do, you know, a simple thing,
Yep.
and you can use it very specifically. You can ask a very vague question. And so as part of it is like, how do I frame, my question correctly?
Sure.
Um, you know, so, you might want to look at it to do like, how do I create a new user account, right? So you
Yep.
could say something like that. How do I create a new user account in Windows 10?
Mhm.
Oh, and it's just wants me to reload because it's been idle too long. So it does a little security check to make sure that you're a human, right?
Yep.
So we'll try that again. So you're going to type in your question, and you'll get a result like this.
Mm.
Now, if a person was going to be really vague, it's an assume you did Windows 10. But if I do a new chat window,
Mhm.
right, my point here is you have to make
Hmm.
sure that you're asking a specific question.
So now that's a how do I, and that's more or less you effectively could Google that, right? You effectively could
Yeah.
look that up and it'll come back with a Windows article, but it's actually, if you look at the first paragraph, it's giving you some introductory text. But what
Yep.
if you said, my understanding of ChatGPT is that it gives um, the ability to write or to talk back to you and give you written paragraphs, right? Like, write me an email, right? Do
Yeah. So
this.
right. And so here's an example of how you can kind of interact with it. So I asked it to, how do I create a user account, right? I
Yep.
could then say, great, create a PowerShell. And then I could
Uh,
say,
yeah.
then I could say, okay, you know, I could say something like, that is perfect.
And yeah,
Right.
now we're taking it next level. This, like, you can Google the first part, but ChatGPT is saying, okay, now do this, and taking it to the next step.
And then I could say, write an email to send to Bob.
Yep.
Right. And,
Yep.
it's gonna, write an email that you
It's,
could send for your user,
yep.
right?
Yep.
And then you could go on to say, assume never use Windows. You have to type correctly.
Mhm.
10. You could have it give some instructions of how to log in,
Mhm.
right, and things like that, right? So, um,
Yep.
and again, it just can kind of help you put together documentation or procedural things, right? An easy kind of at your fingertips level.
Sure.
Save you some time. You know,
Sure.
you could easily come up with these steps.
Yep.
We could go write all these steps down. We could put it into Word, but this just kind of gives you, a nice little way to kind of get something together. And then, again, it's you can interact
Hmm.
with it. So you can say, you can have it do different things. You know, like
Mhm.
making a table with steps or
So it's
bulleted
got
lists and
context. Yep.
right. So you can do some interesting things there, right? The other thing is there's times where you're not sure, how what the next course of steps are on troubleshooting.
Mhm.
You can go down that path as well, right?
Mhm.
I've done this. What should I do next, right?
Yep.
Um, you know, this is just an example,
Sure.
but it gives you kind of an idea of how you can maybe use it. Doing some basic, IT help desk type things. So
So here's something I'd like you to try is whenever I play with, AI, and these are in the big picture of things, AI is coming to every program, every IT system out there for, to help, right? And you just gave a great example of being able to say, hey, write this. I don't need to write it. Just say, write this and give the parameters, and it will do it for you.
yep,
Microsoft is introducing this thing called Copilot, which you could say, write me a presentation on X. But the key, as you mentioned, the key is to have the right data as an input.
yep,
So if you have, say, your company's logos and colors and the data that you want to use, you can say, write me a presentation summarizing these 5 files and presenting them to a sales audience using our company logo. That's a fair statement, and that's a task you would give to someone, and it might take them half an hour to make that,
yeah,
maybe. In theory, with the cognition that you've got here, ChatGPT could do it in maybe a couple minutes, and it might not be perfect, but it'll be pretty good.
right,
No, excuse me, not ChatGPT would do it, but the Copilot would do it. That's
right,
part of
right.
Microsoft's new product. And other companies are incorporating AI elements into their software to do similar things, which is where this open AI framework comes into play.
Yep, correct.
Um, One thing I like to do with AIs, though, is I like to mess with them a little bit. The first question I always ask them is, "Open the pod bay doors, please, Hal." Good. Just
So,
type it, just for giggles.
sure,
Don't say Hal. Just say, "Open the pod bay doors, please." I have to. I have to.
like that.
Yep. That is the appropriate response. And then it.
I love it.
Now I like the fact that it gave that response as the humorous response. The quote is from the AI character from the. What's interesting is to compare this to, say, Alexa. Alexa has some canned responses that are really. It's
Yeah,
basically saying, "Really, really, okay, fine. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. Are you happy?" And that's literally what it says. But it's not an AI because these are scripted, canned responses. Whereas, yeah. Now, see that's another great thing is that you can keep it going.
yeah. It's funny because, again, if you don't give it enough context, you'll get some
Yep.
interesting answers. And
Make
there's a
4 other
perfect
funny
example.
responses.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. Yep. So, um, Now, are there any possible? Now, we talked with a couple of weeks ago. We talked with Arctic Wolf. We have a video about that we talked with them about, and those of you watching, you can go back and look at that video where we spoke with Arctic Wolf about possible security implementations. But we didn't go into oh God, sorry, I was reading and talking at the same time here. I'm
Yeah,
more of a
it
dad
was
joke generator than a pod bay door opener. Wow. Actually, that's
exactly.
pretty good. That's not
You're
bad.
right. Right. Yeah, I'll go back to that.
Um,
That was pretty funny. Yeah.
yeah. But what kind of implementations would this have? Apart, I mentioned assistance, but next level assistance in IT. Are there any other IT um, uses for ChatGPT?
Yeah, I mean, your creativity is your limiting factor for the most part. And what I mean by that is, you can kind of take the role, network administrator, right? You could use it to um, come up with, what commands can I do ahead of time, to configure something, right? You could even do scripts to backup configs if you want to do, all those types of things, right?
Right.
If you were a DBA, you could use it to help you write SQL queries, right?
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
were like I said, help desk person, you could use it to automate your more mundane tasks, right? User
Yeah.
creations, folder cleanups, all those sorts of
Sure.
things.
Sure.
Um, I mean, that's just off the top of my head, right? But now you can do some interesting things about procedural things too, right?
Hmm.
Um, Anything from how to clean up your inbox to how to create a procedure on disaster recovery, right?
Right.
So you can
Yeah.
kind of go through all those different things. So a little bit like think about your normal day to day activities, and is there things that you want to get a different perspective on, or you know automate or
Mhm.
write a procedure on that you just haven't had time to do, right? Things
Maybe
like that.
data analysis, trend spotting,
Compares, yeah, yeah. Now you
comparisons.
can
Yeah.
remember, right? Chat GPT doesn't have current internet access, right? So
Right.
it's it's cut off and then at 21, I believe. So keep that in mind, right?
Yep.
When you can't go out and say, hey, compare these current
Right.
products, right, that type
Yep.
of thing. But
Yep.
you can take a spec sheet of three different products and paste it in and say, compare these and write a table, right?
Right.
And it will do that, right? So you can use it for comparative reasons, for sure.
Sure.
So
Yeah. My also understanding is that with some of these other company products, like the one I mentioned from Microsoft, is that it will still maintain its silo, if you will, to a company's data, but not go outside that company and still maintain it within it. So it can say, hey, the idea of big data, we've got tons and tons of data to pull from. It can look and get a picture of all of the data that you have and be able to be intelligent about a particular company's data set, which that's really a powerful thing if you think about it, because no one person can understand what a company has for data, right? I
right,
mean, there's ones, there's dollars and cents, there's text, there's pictures, there's all kinds of stuff, but to be able to intelligently grab all of that information is incredibly important.
right.
I do want to just pop in here real quick and just remind everyone this is live. So if you'd like to jump in here and chat us and ask any questions on either LinkedIn or YouTube, please feel free to chat us. We will answer your questions best we can live. So, or discuss any topic you might have for us. So, um, so what other items have you seen with ChatGPT that people are using it for?
Automation's a big one.
Hmm.
And it can be unfamiliarity with the command set, right? So, an example would be, let's just say you have a Cisco switch and you want to, you know, do something you don't know how to do on it. So you can say, um, I have a Cisco 9200 switch.
Hmm.
I want to configure the last 10 ports to be trunked with VLAN 1001.
Mm-hmm.
Please output example. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It'll shoot you out, right? A simple command to go and do it. Now, again, I was asked it a question, but I didn't necessarily say provide all the steps, right? So
Right.
let's assume here that you know how to
Yep.
get in to the switch.
Yep. Context is important.
Right.
But that also is kind of like how we talk to humans too. Context is important. If you just walked
Exactly.
up to somebody and said that to them, they'd go blah 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 blah, right? Like what you just said to ChatGPT, it's gonna spit back what would arguably be the correct response, but not maybe a full response or what the person intended.
Right. And then I just
Now
asked
it's
it,
giving you full, yep,
right, how do I go do all these things, right? And so it's
yep,
going to say, okay, you need to, SSH in,
yeah,
you have to do enable, you have to do config T, right?
yeah.
Or config
Is
terminal.
there a right? I didn't see right in
So,
there.
nope. I
Nope.
didn't say how to save it.
No, you
you
didn't. That's
know,
it. But
um,
and that actually does bring up a great point. One of the things I do understand about the Chat GPT is it's not always right.
right.
And it's kind of
Correct.
like the assumption with Google sometimes and the internet in general is, hey, if it's on Google or it's on the internet, it's got to be right. Yeah,
Correct.
the
Yeah.
idea.
And it likes to lie. Um,
Yeah,
you know, and so, for an example, and again, I'm just interacting with this live, but if I sort of said, you know, uh,
oh, it does say in the last thing about right mem.
yep, I asked it, how do I
Mm.
save the config?
Oh,
And
you
so,
did.
but
Okay.
if I do provide the resources with URLs, um, that talk about using the above, right? It's just going to come up with these links.
Yep.
However, I'm going to guess that they probably aren't valid, right?
Mm.
We can try one. Aha. See this? So it
Yep.
doesn't have current internet access. So likely
Yep.
this maybe was a URL, or it might
Yep.
have just made one up because it needed a URL, but it doesn't have internet access. So that's an example of something that it will fabricate as needed. So
Yep.
yes, check your work. Um, use it as a method, as a tool, not as a fact necessarily. So
So what is we have a question actually. What is the difference between ChatGPT and let's see here, make sure I got this how they quote phrased it. Is there any overlap between what ChatGPT can do compared to robotic process automation? That's the robotic. I'm assuming they mean the IBM product, um, but I'm not familiar with it. Are you familiar with that product?
not off the top of the mark without more context. I mean, I'm going to say perhaps there's going to be so all AI programs like this are they will have some access to the same data, right? And so I'm
Right.
going to talk more generically about some of the different ones, right? So like Google has a product called Bard, right?
Mm,
Um, they're just trained on different data sets. Sometimes that they have, one might be better at coming up with responses in writing up, procedures. One might be better at comparing code. Like Bard's got some,
mm,
it's built to review code sets more, right?
mm,
And so even though you might have different platforms that have access to the same data, they might be written. The actual architecture might be written differently.
Sure.
You know. So
The person who asked the question is actually saying basically they sent a link to a product set, and what I'm seeing, if I'm interpreting what they're asking, is that the difference, the robotic process automation is effectively an IT process automation tool, like to be able to automate various tasks, but also do so intelligently based on rule sets and data and
yep,
other things, versus ChatGPT, where it uses intelligent language modeling based on a data set. And the data set that it was originally where it was originally modeled on is huge. I mean, it
yep.
effectively used a good portion of the internet as its data set. So that's my understanding. Is that yours as well?
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, he's talking about, it's designed to carry out certain tasks, right?
Mm, yep.
For a specific application, right? This is more about being able to, like you said, access a vast amount of data and come up with a response based on the type of response that if we were talking to somebody else, right?
Mm,
And so you could, how you would maybe use it to enhance your product set would be, if there's something that you're trying to do with a certain product set
mm,
that isn't, doing what you want it to do, you could ask, like, how would I
yep.
do this task in this software interacting with, this module, blah blah blah, right? More specific you can get, the better it's going to be able to respond to you. So I think it's more like, think of it like an intelligent assistant, right?
Yep.
That has a very large data set.
Hmm.
um, and then, like I said, when you start talking about the different AI chatbot platforms, they just all act different. They each
Sure.
have specific, feature set, right? And some of them will work better or worse for what you're trying to achieve, if that makes sense.
Certainly, certainly. And apologies that Jeremy, who sent in that question. And I just want to add, finally, the kind of as we'd mentioned before, there is a lot of overlap. There's a lot of AI being put into new technologies. So even if it isn't in there today, when it comes to any kind of software, whether it be antivirus or whether it be some kind of scripting tool or scripting language, heck, even programming, you can actually tell ChatGPT to write you a program in X language. I told it the other day to write me a simple PHP program
Hmm.
to access a database, fill out a form, and submit it. And I mean, it wrote the correct
Right,
code, and I could put it into a server and it would run. Now, but this is where knowing the code helps, like knowing it
right.
and going, hey, it'll at least do the heavy lifting for you so you can go in and fine tune it versus doing that. So the idea is saying, so, all
Yep.
right,
I mean,
well,
it's a tool set that can make your life easier or more complex depending on how you use it.
yep, yep. So, but thank you for the question, Jeremy. We really, really do appreciate it. Well, we are actually at the end of our time together here, Roger. I really love talking about AI type stuff and new technologies, and ChatGPT is actually a very exciting
It is.
product. Yeah, if those of you who want to try it and play with it, you can actually go out and try it for free you can see the URL there on Roger's screen. It's chat.openai.com. It's based on the OpenAI API, uh, and it's fun to play with. I mean, even if you don't find a use for it, try it and see kind of what the future of uh, what will be coming in the new programs and new applications that you're going to be seeing in the IT environments today. Any any words? Well, here, I'm going to actually go ahead and say, for those of you that want to get more information from us, maybe contact us after the fact, feel free to visit our website at www.netcenter.net. You can email us at info@netcenter.net or check us out on any of our social media channels. And to be notified of any of our upcoming YouTube videos or NCI Live videos, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the little notification bell so that you'll get notified whenever we do go live, which we do every 2 weeks at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m., excuse me, Central Time. Roger, any parting thoughts or comments?
No, I would just say, next time that you've got a problem, stick it in, see what comes out, and it'll make, if anything else, it'll make you, look at it from a different angle. So
Certainly. All right. Well, I enjoyed this, and thanks to Roger for joining us, and thanks for all of you for joining us here on NCI Live. Join us next time. Bye-bye.
bye.